is Floudopoulos. I'm a journalist from Capital.gr and I have the honor to moderate next panel under the title New Energy Ventures. We have with us Mr. Kostas Skrekas, Minister of Environment and Energy of the Hellenic Republic. Hello, Mr. Minister. Mr. Atanas Pekanov, Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Bulgaria. Mr. Zoran Zaev, Founder and Director, Zaev Foundation, One Society for All, Republic of North Macedonia. Hello, Mr. Zaev. And Mr. Paolo Gallo, Chief Executive Officer of Italgas, Italy. So, my question to all the panelists is, what are the lessons learned from the recent energy crisis, and what is the role that renewables are meant to play? Do we need to reevaluate policies regarding natural gas as a transitional fuel? Mr. Prime Minister, what has Greece learned from the... Mr. Minister. Sorry about that. So, what are the lessons learned for Greece during the recent energy crisis?
Well, first of all, let me thank the organizers for inviting me in this very important forum, and let me welcome the honorable participants, the former Prime Minister of North Macedonia, the current Deputy Prime Minister of Bulgaria, and of course the good friend, the CEO of Italgas, Mr. Paolo Gallo. So let me start by saying that this devastating Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused major challenges for Europe and for Greece in the energy sector, among others. So Russia decided to weaponize the European dependence on Russian gas. Mr. Putin decided to turn down and reduce gas flows to Europe, and that created extreme prices in gas that, of course, lead to extreme high prices in electricity. In Greece, we worked in a strategy on three directions in order to cope with this severe situation. First of all, we tried to diversify gas sources from the Russian gas. So we have, in a record time, we have installed a second floating storage unit in Revithousa in order to increase the utilization of Revithousa's regasification capacity. We had also agreed with the Italian counterpart and the Bulgarian counterpart to store gas in the underground reserves of Italy and Bulgaria. The second is that we try to reduce gas consumption through energy efficiency and energy savings. And the third, of course, we supported the Greek consumers, both households and small medium enterprises, to cope with the severe situation caused by this Russian behavior. Let me say that we have mobilized, in order to support the households, we have mobilized almost 9 billion euro in order to absorb between 80 and 90% of the cost of the electricity, of the extra cost of the electricity for the households, and to absorb between 50% and 60% to the extra cost to the small medium enterprises. Worthy of mention is the fact that out of these 9 billion euro, only 30% came from the state budget. Only 2.6% where money came from the taxpayers. The 70% of the subsidies came from a windfall tax mechanism that we designed here in Greece and we introduced last summer, and from the revenues of the CO2 emissions trade system. It is worthy also of mentioning the fact that the Greek model, that Greek mechanism of capturing the windfall profits of the electricity companies has inspired the European regulation for the capping of the inframarginal rents of the electricity companies. Therefore, I think that now we're in a situation that we are coping, I think, very well with the crisis, but also we have set the basis in order to avoid such similar situations in the future. And what I mean is that the way to permanently deal with such situations is to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and increase the penetration of renewables. It is true that in Greece we have managed to increase almost 10 times the deployment of renewables on an annual basis. Between 2015 and 2018, we were deploying between 100 and 200 megawatt of additional renewables on an annual basis. In 2022, we have built and we have connected into the grid almost 2,000 megawatts of renewables. When we took office as a government in 2019, only 30–32% of the electricity consumption came from renewables. In 2022, almost 43–44% of the electricity consumption came from renewables, and the first Q of 2023, the generation coming from renewables has increased 10% compared with Q1 22. That means that the pace, the penetration pace of renewables in our energy mix keeps going. And this is the real solution, because today the generation from renewables is almost 3 or 4 times cheaper than to generate electricity from gas or from lignite power plants, if you include the carbon tax. And this is how Greece and how Europe can regain competitiveness. And on one hand, reduce the dependence on imported fossil fuels, gas or oil, and reduce CO2 emissions, of course, that create climate change and climate crisis, and on the other hand, to maintain predictable and competitive electricity prices for households and for businesses.
Thank you very much. What about Bulgaria? How did you cope with the energy crisis, and what are your lessons learned from it?
Dear ladies and gentlemen, conference organizers, dear Minister, dear former Prime Minister, Mr. Gallo, it's a huge pleasure for me to be here. I'm for the first time at the Delphi Economic Forum, but not for the first time in Greece, since I was born in Greece, so it's always a big pleasure to be here. The war that started 1 year ago shook a lot of our perspectives. It was a nasty wake-up call that we get to get out of our comfort zone and get more serious. Crises make us think, they make us solve problems, they make us invent new pathways, and we're testing the ground. We are innovating and taking risks, but this is how we advance. Let me share with you my views on how the advancements in technology that have basically revolutionized the way we use, we generate, we store energy, can make Europe more autonomous and more resilient. And I'm happy to say that on many of those, on those technologies and these reforms, we have inscribed in the Bulgarian National Recovery and Resilience Plan, which I am in charge of as Deputy Prime Minister for European funding of Bulgaria. The way I see that new energy avenues should be used for strengthening our energy sector, but also our economies and our societies, goes by using, I would say, 4 factors. The first and the key one, as was already pointed out, is the usage of renewables. So solar, wind, and geothermal. They have become increasingly affordable and more accessible in recent years, and this is due to the exponential decrease in their production costs. They have different benefits and drawbacks, and this is why we need to use, in the end, a combination of different renewable energy sources, which will provide us with the most consistent, sustainable, and cost-effective energy mix. This is why in the Bulgarian National Recovery and Resilience Plan, we have inscribed targeted support for the expansion of renewables in the coming years, and photovoltaics and wind farms will be incentivized by financing not only the renewable, but also importantly, the battery collocation projects, up to a cumulative of 1.4 gigawatts until 2026. We are also exploring in the area of geothermal energy. It will be kick-started in the country also by providing opportunities for legal entities and individuals to apply for such schemes. It is also worth noting that for us also nuclear energy may also be counted among these sources, as it provides consistent base load without emitting greenhouse gases during its operation. So Bulgaria and the Bulgarian government, we believe that we should continue utilizing this technology as long as we can do so safely in our transition efforts. Second area to focus for me in the new energy avenues is, of course, energy storage. Everybody has heard about it already. Renewables are intermittent, so this is why we need ways to balance, especially in the peak demand, and there have been significant advancements in these technologies, energy storage technologies in recent years, which are also making them more affordable and more efficient to develop. So this relates to cost and efficiency. It also relates to different charge and discharge frequencies, which are essential for keeping the system stable, as well as also in order to minimize the need for scarce raw materials and recycling, we should also utilize our natural features. So of course, also not talking about only batteries, but also pumped storage hydro, as well as hydrogen, on which there have been some steps in recent years. In the Bulgarian Recovery and Resilience Plan, we have also introduced such a scheme for, as I said, on one hand, renewables with battery combination, but also another for subsidies for purchase, installation, and commissioning of electrical energy storage facilities. And together we are analyzing the best way to do so, and this again is part of the investments which are already ongoing and will be realized by 2026. Third aspect, the energy grid. Here we have to be honest, we have to make the efforts in introducing smart grids, also in utilizing microgrids, and of course increasing inter-system connectivity. This will stabilize the availability of energy, but it will also reduce the supply risk. And important steps have been made also in recent years. It's very important that, of course, our recently completed gas interconnector with Greece was a huge and significant step in that sense. Other ones are in our National Recovery and Resilience Plan, the modernization of our electricity system. Very important so that the grid can actually handle these new capacities. And then finally, energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is an essential part of the green transition. We have to show to citizens that by improving our energy efficiency and the energy intensity of our economies, we are actually moving in the right direction, helping our economies become stronger. So on all of this, there is a lot of reforms to be done, and to be honest, I'm very happy that the National Recovery and Resilience Plans, as they were devised, include investments, but also reforms. So commitments to do the necessary reforms. Some of them have already been developed in Bulgaria, the draft laws on the Energy Act, on the Renewable Energy Act, a hydrogen roadmap. These are important commitments that will help us master this green transition. However, we also have to be honest, the recovery and resilience mechanism was a very, very important cornerstone of the answer of Europe to the pandemic, and it will also ensure and protect public investment for the coming years. However, things are changing. The situation has been very volatile in the last year, and in that sense, European institutions and European governments will also have to be flexible, meaning that to make it work, to make it happen, the recovery and resilience plans will have to be flexible enough to adjust to changing circumstances. We are entering new territories, and in these new territories, we are bound to test the boundaries of our energy system, our economies. As one says, we have to cross the river by filling the stones. It's a challenge, but I'm sure that with partnership, local and global partnership with international institutions, with neighboring countries, with the reforms inscribed, we will actually master the green transition, and we are already making the steps to do so. And this is not only some abstract thinking. No, these are the ways to make our economies more resilient, and by doing so, actually to ensure the welfare of our fellow citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Zaev, your turn. What are the lessons from the energy crisis? How did you live it in North Macedonia?
First of all, thank you very much for your organizers, Mr. Tsomokos, for kind invitation to be present in the Delphi Economic Forum. It's a great honor to be speaker together with the Minister for Energy and Environment of Greece and the Vice President of the government from Bulgaria and the CEO of Italgas, and this very important topic, new energy avenues, because really the whole world, especially the European continent, is preoccupied with what will be happening in the future, not only with green agenda, but also with energy sustainability of the society. Thank you, dear friends who are here to participate. Some of them are very important CEOs like Mr. Ben Ruby, Mr. Andreas, companies who are connected with North Macedonia, especially through this energetic crisis. But let's be honest, we have luck because God sent us very not so cold winter, this winter what we pass, what will be not the case probably next winter. So we survive like North Macedonia, this energetic crisis with help of our friends. Bulgaria, Greece, Serbia. I will comment few cases from Greece, for example. They really share own resources with us, like they share vaccines before. Bulgaria do that also through COVID crisis, but now in the last autumn, September, everybody was terrified if there will be restrictions, if there will be enough energy, and we ask our friends for help because we're a small country, maybe one of the smaller in the region, to help us with raw materials. Prime Minister Mitsotakis, Minister Skrekas delivered through the companies us lignite, like through Mytilineos, for example, in very competitive conditions. So we have enough lignite for producing energy. I don't know, through Hellenic Petroleum, we get it heavy oil. So we put in use extra 100 megawatt power plants, for example, and that helped us to survive this winter. We are ready to share our resources also with our neighbors, like our production facilities, our pipes. Normally we do it that and we prepare it for the future. Why? Because the region will be more stable and secure if we act together. And this cooperation was very visible this summer and will be even more important for the next winter, for sure. But in the meantime, we need to prepare and continuing this cooperation. Really, all these months in front of us, all of us must be focused in the renewable. We all support green agenda, and that is only way for sustainable energy development in this region. But through the cooperation, if the region act together, will be more competitive, more appreciated from the Western Europe, from the Northern Europe, even from Northeastern Europe. So region must act together, and energy is really good case to act together. We started that. We have very good future working together. And of course, if we share our resources, if we help each other, we can improve to get better prices for raw materials, for more photovoltaics, for more windmills, etc., but also with sharing capital and financial possibilities for next investment. For example, in the moment, it's happened more than 2.5 billion euro investment only from Greece. In North Macedonia, 1.8 is for energy. PPC is in the final stage for signing agreement of big project Chebren. What is 1.2 billion euro value is a basic energy, what is necessary for the whole region if we want to motivate further investment in photovoltaics and wind mills, for example. Or Mytilineos invest in big gas power plant, cogenerative system, new technology, really competitive, and we need it desperately for Skopje, for heating system, but also for new producing of energy. Both projects are basic energy. With this project, we can motivate further investment in renewables like photovoltaics and windmills, and et cetera, et cetera. Also, a lot of investment happen from Bulgaria in our country, but also we invest in Greece with our small capacities normally like country. But the point is working together and cooperation. We can do more in our green European agenda, but also we can help each other more if we act together.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Gallo, you are the representative of the market. You are
Yes.
the sole, and you represent natural gas also.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to add, what is according to your opinion, do we need to reevaluate the policies regarding natural gas as transitional fuel?
Well, let me start saying that what happened in Ukraine has brought to us, let me say, a different scenario in respect of what we were thinking before. I called a trilemma that has to be solved. Trilemma means that there is no more, not only the energy transition to be considered, but also security of supply and competitiveness of our industry. If we don't solve these three elements together, then I mean, it would be very difficult to reach only energy transition, to reach energy transition without compromising the other two elements. Security of supply was given. If you think about 3 or 4 years ago, nobody was thinking about security of supply. Today is extremely important. So I'm introducing this point because I wanted to say what is importance of the gas infrastructure and the electricity infrastructure. This trilemma is bringing back the concept of cooperating between electricity and gas as the way to reach the target on all the three elements. When I say gas infrastructure, I avoided to say natural gas because gas infrastructure are essential for the energy transition and security of supply and competitiveness of the industry, in a sense that today they are transporting and delivering natural gas, but they will be essential for the future to deliver other gases, such as biomethane, such as hydrogen, such as e-gas, that will help the energy transition to happen. Biomethane, for example, is a clear example. There is a huge potential about biomethane in Europe. It's one of the pillars of the REPowerEU. 25% of the gas imported from Russia, according to the REPowerEU document, should be replaced by the local European production of biomethane. So we are talking about 35 billion cubic meters produced in Europe. Of course, the different member states have different potential. And hydrogen is the other element. Hydrogen is similar in terms of size. Another 25% of Russian gas should be replaced by green hydrogen. Again, green hydrogen will be produced or locally imported. To have this scenario, to have this scenario happening, you need infrastructure. And gas infrastructure, think about that there are in Europe, in member states, more than 2 million kilometers of pipes, either transportation or distribution. This is an essential infrastructure that will be used today to deliver natural gas, but very soon we will start to deliver biomethane and hydrogen and e-gases. That's the way to reach the energy transition. Biomethane is defined as CO2 neutral or even CO2 negative if you are able to capture CO2. The production of biomethane has two very important byproducts, fertilizer and CO2. Fertilizer is used in agro industry. CO2 can be used in food industry. So it's a circular economy. hydrogen. Hydrogen was mentioned before by my distinguished colleagues and by Mr. Skrekas. As the way, hydrogen is also the way of storing the energy. Renewable, we know very well that renewable in the future will create more rigidity in the energy system. The only way to give flexibility back to the energy system is through power storage. The most effective power storage is the hydrogen. Battery can be used, but they have limited use and they need rare material. Green hydrogen just need an infrastructure that already exists. So my point is we need to leverage gas infrastructure for the energy transition.
Mr. Zaev touched the issue before. I wanted to bring to the table of the discussion the subject of cooperation, regional cooperation. We see in the area of Southeastern Balkans having the most expensive prices of electricity comparing to other areas of Europe. So, what is the role of regional cooperation, especially in our area, in order to achieve an integrated energy market that will help us lower the cost of electricity? Mr. Skrekas?
Well, I think it's very clear that energy security is not a national issue. It is a regional issue. It is a pan-European issue. That is why electricity interconnections and other critical infrastructure that will help the exchanging of electricity or of energy are needed in order to safeguard energy security, but also increase competition, which will bring prices of energy down. Here in Greece, we have designed and we're currently implementing a very ambitious program regarding the expanding and upgrading the interconnections with the neighboring countries. With Bulgaria, for example, we have just recently put in operation the IGB. That pipeline, together with the already existing infrastructure, gave the possibility to Greece to support Bulgaria. Almost 70% of Bulgaria's needs in gas came from Greece the previous year. We are also completing the upgrading of the electricity interconnection, the doubling of the electricity interconnection with Bulgaria over the next weeks. We have planned the doubling of the electricity interconnection with North Macedonia, with Italy, and the tripling of electricity interconnection with Albania. We are also planning the first electricity interconnection between North Africa and South Europe, between Egypt and Greece. An electricity interconnection which can bring green energy from Egypt, produced in Egypt at very competitive prices, that also will help further the energy security of the area, of the region, and also helps us to export green energy together with energy produced in Greece to the northern countries, and thus help the prices of electricity to go down. Of course, the increasing of the local production of electricity from renewables is very crucial. That's why in Greece we have planned that by 2030, 80% of the electricity consumption should come from renewables. Already, the second Q of 2023 now, we're going to do the first auction for deploying storage systems, batteries, because batteries and storage systems are important to keep the energy during daylight and use it during night. Already in Greece we have many hours of the day that 100% of the local consumption and 100% of the exports are being produced from renewables. And still, there are hours of the day that we have to curtail a percentage of renewables in order to maintain the stability of the system. That is because we had managed a small miracle to increase electricity generation in Greece by 70% within just 4 years. But on the other hand, we have to find a fast way to not leave this energy getting lost. So we have planned that within 2023, we will have auctions for approximately 1 gigawatt of battery storage, together with Amphilohia project, which is a hydropumping storage project of 850 almost megawatts storage capacity. Energy democracy is very crucial also in this effort, in the grid transition. That's why on Tuesday, we're going to initiate a new program. The platform will start a platform that will give the opportunity to households to build a small system of photovoltaic and battery on the rooftop of the house, so that they will have the opportunity to generate the electricity they consume and therefore participate, contribute to the energy transition, but also dramatically reduce the energy cost, the electricity cost. This is a very innovative program, among others, that has to do with energy efficiency, energy upgrading of the buildings, solar heat waters, programs that with the support of the state will help the households and the Greek society to participate to the country's plans for energy transition.
Mr. Pekanov, a quick comment, because we don't have much time regarding cooperation in the area, energy cooperation.
So absolutely. In the 21st century, on many questions, but on this especially, cooperation is essential. We saw it last year to overcome the crisis. We saw it also during the pandemic. It's both global cooperation, but regional also, bilateral sometimes, or regional. And at the EU level, at the Europe level, we have found some solutions, such as the recovery and resilience mechanism in bilateral. This was discussed. The interconnector was already a huge success, but we have to look forward into deepening this cooperation. This is the only way to solve those problems, which are quite immense. They are not easy to solve, but we can solve them together.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time, so thank you all for your participation in a discussion that I think it was very interesting. Thank you very much.